You know what? I can't do it this week, Jamal. I can't fake the enthusiasm. I'm not even gonna try. Welcome to the Two Tone Crew, episode 144. And we are the official podcast of TitansReport.com. For some reason, we've decided to torture ourselves and try and talk about the Titans for about a half hour. Is what we're shooting for. Scotty, welcome back.
What's up?
And Jamal, if you can hear me, welcome back. Jamal's been having some convenient internet issues right about the time we want to record this.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Yeah, so guys, Jamal, I think if you've listened to the podcast, you know he's a man of few words is how we describe him. So no, not at all. And in a message before this, he sent to us and said, "I literally have nothing to say." And that just about sums it up for the Titans right now. So it's a good thing we didn't try to record on Sundays because I don't know if I would have been able to do it. This game just had such a weird feel. I posted in the game thread during the actual game that it just felt like a preseason game. It was so bizarre. And it was one of those games that you just hope you can come out of it with a win and then forget it ever happened. It was ugly. It was boring. Like I said, I thought it felt like a preseason game. And to be honest, I don't know that there's much of anything you can glean from this game. Obviously, the offense is bad without Marcus Mariota. We kind of expected that. And the defense, I don't know. You and I were talking about this, Scotty, throughout the week. I don't know that you can say much about the defense either because of how bad the Dolphins are. I mean, they are a bad team.
The Dolphins offense was seriously worse than the Titans, and Castle is washed up.
Yeah, I mean, watching the game, it's just like we should not lose to this team given how bad they were on offense. And to be honest, I mean, we can talk about the refs, but to be honest, we wouldn't have lost the game if not for, let's just say, the turnover that went for the score. I mean, that was almost that swing right there. A penalty takes away our touchdown and then immediately goes the other way on the very next play. You know, two questionable calls. I'll say they were close. I'm not going to say they cost us the game, but clearly, well, they definitely cost us the game. The question is whether they were valid or not. And I think there's several issues which have already been hashed out. I mean, you can read those online about all the issues surrounding those plays, what happened on the Jonnu Smith call, then whether or not Castle's arm was going forward. And even if it was going forward, the Dolphins clearly had more men coming on the field. So just a weird sequence. And I mean, that in a game like this, that ended up costing the Titans the game. So, I mean, 16-10 was the final score. And yeah, it was a brutal thing to watch. And it's frustrating because coming into this year, we were excited for the podcast. We were excited for the season. We talked about the lofty expectations. And I don't even know if we need to talk much more about the game because, frankly, what more can you say, right? It's just the offense is not the offense when you take away your best player. Not to mention, arguably our second best player, and second most important for sure, in Milan, did not play a majority of this game either. So just a total wash there. But let's kind of reset things and let's just talk about the big picture here now, because surprisingly, Titans are still just one game out of first place. They, along with the Texans and somehow the Colts at 2-3, despite everything the Colts have been through, identical record to the Titans, and which makes this week's game all the more important. So, Jamal, do you have anything to say about the upcoming game? Since there's not much to say about what's already happened in the previous game.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Are you really going to continue this the whole show? It'd be interesting.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. You guys just want me to end it then? Should we just end it right here? Just call it a show?
No. So here's the thing. we had higher expectations than it looks like this team is going to put out, right? Um, but it's a week-to-week league, and they could get hot. There's something fundamentally wrong with the offense right now. Really good halves against the Jags that was jump-started by Blake Bortles, and against Seattle where we just wore him out. Kind of masked the fact that the offense was very much questionable even then. They've got to figure that out. They've got to get it right. I don't know exactly how. Certainly, getting healthier will help. Certainly, having more than like 1.5 wide receivers will help. I mean, Davis has to get healthy, and then he has to be worth something. But there's something fundamentally wrong with the offense. And defensively, we're going to be probably an up and down team, just depending on matchups and how the opponent goes, and whether we get the good Adoree Jackson or the bad Adoree Jackson one week. I think expectations probably have to be reset. And the scary thing is, other teams in the division look like they're not as terrible as we would have hoped. The Jags keep managing to win. Their defense is great. Houston, fortunately, is getting more injuries than you can imagine. So maybe that'll take them down a notch, but clearly they're better than us right now. And Indianapolis, 2 wins already. I don't care who it's against. You wouldn't have expected that, or at least I wouldn't have. So,
yeah.
I mean, we've got to win this game. We've got to beat Cleveland. I think we talked about last week. Last week was the perfect week for Marcus to be out, right? Because you're playing, like, this stretch is great. If he's going to be injured, have it happen during the stretch, except for if we lose. And then you're basically giving away the gimmies.
Right.
And last week we gave away a gimme. We can't do it again. So we have to win this week.
Yeah, I'm glad you went there, because I was going to ask later, is this, how much of a must-win game is this? And I agree. I mean, this game in Cleveland, if we're going to have any hope at achieving what the Titans want to achieve this year, you need to win both these games. Get back to 500, beating the Colts. Monday Night Football, you're at home. They do not have their quarterback. They're just not a super talented team. Now, like you said, they've won games, though, and I think they're going to be a challenge for us. But if Mariota plays, especially if Mariota plays, the Titans have no business losing that game. And I made a post this week about every team in the division has reasons to be worried, and they have reasons to be optimistic. And almost kind of like that post was almost intended to kind of have people sort of reevaluate based on where teams are at right now. If you were a fan of this team, sort of how are you feeling confident? Are you feeling good about the chances for the division? And if I try to look at it as objectively as possible, I still think the Titans have, pretty much all the AFC South teams have easy schedules. That's kind of one thing we probably haven't focused on enough, because we've talked all along about the Titans having such an easy schedule. You look at the Jags schedule, it's nearly as easy as ours. You look at the Texans is a little bit tougher, and you could argue the Colts. I think the Colts still have to play Seattle and a couple of other, winning teams right now. But it's all pretty much the same schedule because we're in the same division. And that, I don't know that we can count as much of something in our favor as we have been talking about so heavily. But yeah, if I try to look at it objectively, I kind of fall with the Texans looking the best right now, despite the injuries, because on offense, man, they just have so many more weapons. And you pointed this out in the preseason, Jamal, and you talked about it in that thread some. It's like they were without Watt last year, and they still had the best defense in the league statistically. So now they lose Watt and they lose Merciless. So who knows if they can rebound from that. They also lost their cornerback, A.J. Bouye, to the Jags in the offseason. So I don't know that they're going to be able to duplicate that performance again. But the fact remains that they were able to do it last year after losing their best player. And say what you want, dumbing down the offense or making things easy, Deshaun Watson's in a groove, and he's looking good right now. Now, he struggled early against the Chiefs, and a lot of people are talking about that, the big 5 touchdown performance. Most of that came when the game was decided.
That game cracked me up. So I ended up winning, but I was in a battle to the end in fantasy football with somebody, and he had Hopkins. That game was so pathetic and absurd. Say what you want. Okay, practice, fine, whatever. They scored with no time remaining, down 10. after the touchdown and went for 2 to lose by 8. What the hell? How stupid is that? Like it doesn't. It really doesn't make any sense
Was there
to me.
how much time was left?
They scored with time expired.
Yeah, 0.
Oh, with time yeah,
and
that
then
is
went
kind of
for
weird.
2, so
why
that they
risk
only
injuries?
lost by 8? What's the point? Like it made no sense whatsoever. But obviously the only thing is they're going for practice, right? Or they want to end on a good note or something. I don't know. But yeah, I was playing against Hopkins, and I was upset, and then I barely won. And that game actually made me about $25 on DraftKings because I had stacked Hopkins with Watson. So then I wasn't upset, but it was an absurd end to the game. I mean, talk about garbage time.
Yeah.
Watson was not good in that game either. I don't care what his stats are. When they fell behind and was still trying to come back, all of a sudden their offensive line started breaking down, and Watson started dropping back, and he was all over the place, man. He was throwing that ball all over the place.
Yeah, because his numbers early in that game, I mean, he was completing barely like 50% of his passes. It was bad.
They're not going to overcome losing both of those guys either. That's two that I heard today. Greg Cassell said it's probably their 2 best front 7 players. They already lost Brian Cushing. They're not going to do what they did last year. Their secondary is already not very good, and now there's no way they're going to be able to rush the passer like they could. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I would have said the Texans were right there, but
before those injuries.
Yeah, before those, you just don't overcome those 2 injuries. No way.
Well, the good news for them is they're only about 40 points better than us. So even if they're not nearly as dominant, we have to be better, or we get walked on again. So
yeah, and we haven't even talked as much about the team leading the division right now, the Jags. I think we're pretty close to being able to say that's an elite defense. If not ready to say elite yet, it's definitely a very good defense.
Oh yeah,
and they were last year,
and they're kind of a fluky 3 wins, but you only need a couple of those to make the difference in a season.
I'm going to say it again. I saw a lot of that game. There's no way they're going through the season winning games like they did against the Steelers. 2 pick six. Do you know how many passes? Do you know how many passes they tried in the second half?
The Steelers?
2. No, the Jaguars.
The Jags.
They attempted 2 passes. Bortles was sacked, and the other one was incomplete.
That's right. Yeah, I mean it's fluky, but
they are
get enough of those wins.
This is like Trent Dilfer times 10. he didn't even throw for 100 yards. And they had 2 pick six. It's not. There's no way you can consistently win that way. No way.
So here's a serious question: who is worse, Blake Bortles?
Oh, did you lose him, Scotty?
Yeah.
Oh, you lost me.
I heard Blake Bortles, and then I didn't hear
Blake Bortles, or I guess the suspense is really important here.
It's building, yeah.
Matt Castle. Because I'm dead serious. Matt Castle is trash, but so is Blake Bortles.
Ooh.
No, it's Castle's worse.
I think so. Yeah.
He has no business being in the league. I'm sorry.
Castle cannot physically throw a football well enough. No, I'm being for real. Greg Cassell said it today too. He does not have the physical ability to throw a football on an NFL field with NFL players. He can't do it.
Yeah. And I know Jamal loves to talk about PFF, but I think this game more than any other, it's so highlighted the flaws, especially in their quarterback ranking system. Because I don't know if you've seen on Twitter, like Superhorn and News to Tom, they've been going back and watching, and some of these throws when Castle would just check down. Now, they weren't specifically relating it back to PFF, but in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, okay, so PFF says, oh, that was a nice throw on the check down, when they're ignoring that there's a guy running wide open 10 yards downfield on a 3rd down when you need that many yards. But yeah, from what Superhorn was saying on Twitter, that he was just missing guys all over the place, that there were plenty of open players.
He couldn't even throw a spiral.
Yeah, there's something
Half the
wrong.
time he can throw. But I will say this, and this kind of goes to what Jamal said about something's wrong with the offense. I'll tell you what's wrong with the offense. They can't run the ball.
Yeah, you've been getting at that lately.
Now, they can run it here and there, but last year they ran over people.
They can't
And
impose their will. I
Yep.
think that's the difference.
that they can't run the ball when if the other team wants to stop the run, they can stop it. And because of that, if they could run the ball like they did last year, Matt Castle wouldn't have had to win the game.
Yeah.
And he had to win it against the Dolphins because the one time they did score is when Murray did have a couple of good runs. Aside from those two runs, he didn't do anything. He was he's not terrible. That's the thing. He's not terrible. He's not very good. He only gets what's blocked for him. He caught, I can't remember if it was three or four. He either caught 3 passes for 4 yards, or I think he caught 4 passes for 3 yards. When he caught those
Those were the
passes,
longest passes Castle completed though for the day.
He
almost.
caught Murray caught 4 for 11 yards. He had a
That's
long of
right.
7. There was one 7 yards, so the other 3 made up 4 yards.
Yeah, you're right. It was 11 yards. I was thinking he barely had 1 yard to catch, but it's still the same. Whenever he caught those passes, just no explosion, no ability to break tackles, and they're going to have to start using Henry more. I know he had that
Well,
long run against the Seahawks when they were exhausted and everything, but that's covering up the fact that Derrick Henry's a better runner.
so when are you going to actually say like Malarkey has a problem?
Well, Malarkey said
Yeah, he said he needed to.
he said he needs to give Henry the ball, and
Well, but he said that for like a year and a half. And he's only been on the team for less than a year and a half. So
well, I think before it was more of just they need to rest.
Lip service. Yeah.
Well, they need to give just rest Murray. But now, I mean, Murray needs to be replaced as the featured runner. And if he keeps running Murray and they can't run the ball, then yeah, Malarkey deserves to get criticism for it because it's not the hamstring. Do you think it's the hamstring? He's practicing every day. I don't see any
no,
hamstring injury.
no, I don't think it's the hamstring. I think I don't know. Sometimes I watch him run and I'm like, hey, that was, he had some pop in that run. He's a patient runner, and sometimes I want to give him an excuse of saying like, well, if they were blocking better, but ultimately, I don't think he adds a lot. It's just consistency and decency.
But
every time.
If you've got Matt Castle, that didn't do it.
Well, so one of the things that really hurts this team is unless they're scheming and tricking the other team, where are the big plays? Like you simply cannot have like a 20-play drive every time. Touchdown.
You also can't keep scheming that stuff. They'll figure it out.
There's only so many trick plays. I mean, if anybody's got him, Malarkey's got him, but you have to have your base offense capably executed. And it has to have plays that are going 20, 30 yards down the field in your base offense, not some schemed, we tricked them, we lulled them to sleep by doing this play to the left, and now we snuck a guy out and nobody covered him. You have to like execute, have a guy open, throw him the pass, and it's a basic normal play.
Well, I do think that's also where it factors in that Corey Davis is injured.
Yep.
And you've got Decker out there.
Decker's been a disappointment.
Decker is kind of like Murray, only worse.
Yeah, but he's still better than Sharp last year.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's true, by the way.
I was going to say,
I'm just saying.
I don't know about that.
I was about to call you out on that.
I was thinking more Andre Johnson for Decker.
And if they had Sharp, they could at least put Decker in the slot.
Mm.
Hey, Andre won a few games at least.
Well, he won one. I think, yeah. I don't think Decker's had more than 50 yards receiving yet this year, so there's just simply no way to describe that, especially with as much as I feel like at times they've been trying to force the ball to him. No way to describe that other than terrible.
And I don't want to leave the running thing yet because Scotty, I've heard you say that. I've heard Superhorn say that, and then I heard Greg Cassell talk about that today too. That the Titans just aren't running with that authority. And last week I was talking about, well, when you look at the numbers, it looks like they're actually okay. And Cassell was saying that exact thing. He's saying you look at the numbers, and yeah, it looks like they're actually running decent, but that it's actually skewed by a couple of big plays here and there. And that even like this game, you look and you say, oh, Murray, 4.1 yards per carry, but it wasn't a consistent power running attack like we saw last year. I mean, think about this, in a 16-10 game, Matt Castle threw the ball 32 times, and we only rushed. Murray carried 14 times, Henry carried 4 times. Like
They
that
couldn't
goes
run the ball.
That's exactly like the coaches must have seen, oh, we got to do something. We got to throw because this isn't working. Because in my mind, envisioning this game, I'm thinking, okay, let's give them 30 carries. Let's Murray have 15, 16, 17 carries, Henry 12, 11, 13. I don't know why I said 12, 11, 13, 11, 12, 13. So have a lot of carries for these guys and just have this all out rushing attack. And they just, yeah, they couldn't do it.
I think they also know they can't run the ball because of the plays they call with Mariota, all the read options.
Oh, yeah,
and all
with him out.
That, he's another reason their rushing stats are as good as they are because, it opens all the teams, RG3, Russell, anytime the quarterback's a threat on the edge like that, it opens up the running game.
Chris Johnson with Vince Young. Oh,
well, he actually had better stats with Kerry Collins, but
did he really?
He had a higher yards per carry. But I don't think they really did what teams are doing now back then, though.
Yeah.
Was it not hilarious when AP got traded and Chris Johnson got cut? I laughed simply because there was that. I don't think Chris Johnson was on a team when he tweeted it, but earlier this year he tweeted AP all caps. AP needs more carries, but not mine.
Oh, wow.
I think he was on the team because I actually thought, he really means I need more carries.
It's funny how those two guys are connected. Like I remember after CJ's big year, they had video of AP watching CJ runs. And they were coaching him to watch CJ's patience and everything. You guys remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not even saying this because of all the Chris Johnson debates and stuff. But if you watch Chris Johnson this year, he's the Matt Castle of running backs.
I haven't watched him at all this year.
Have you watched him, Jamal?
No.
It's seriously. It's sad. He would get. And the fact that
like 2.5 yards or something.
The fact that the Cardinals cut him to trade for a clearly other washed up running back, that's all you need to know.
But they have nothing. They're so bad off. They are worse off at running back and just in general, like their rushing attack, they're worse off than if Mariota was out for the year. And looking at our quarterback situation, like their offensive line is complete trash. Chris Johnson is averaging something like 2.5 yards a carry, 2.3. I don't remember what it is. The only other guy they have playing running back, they literally send out on a route 90-something% of the time he plays. They aren't trying to run even because they know they can't. I think AP is going to be a big failure there because they can't do it.
Well, he's not very good either.
I saw a post today. This is jumping back to the Jags, but I can't remember if it was a tweet or a post or something, but somebody said, what if the Jags traded for Eli Manning?
I heard a lot of people talking about that.
Because
I guess
he's not great, but
he's a little bit better than Blake Bortles, but it's funny that whole class, Big Ben, Eli, Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, Big Ben needs to just go die somewhere. My goodness.
I thought Big Ben was starting to look washed up last year.
Dude, he wanted to retire, and now you know why. And you know what? Now you see what happens when the quarterback, like you can tell he's not mentally committed. And that position is so mentally heavy.
Yep, him and Cutler. And then he just goes, well, maybe I don't have it anymore.
I hope he doesn't have it for a few more weeks when we play them.
Back to our running back situation. If you listen to Greg Cassell, he also said that he thought Henry needed to get more carry, a lot of carries to get in a groove and start running the ball.
You mean
Yeah.
4 is not going to cut it?
Well, he actually said more like 20, but yeah, 4 is not
Two
going to
per
cut it.
half.
No, I
is what
honestly
they
think
gave him.
I honestly think we're at a point, and granted, I'm biased because of my thoughts on last year as well, but I think we're at a point where it's hard to not at least say Malarkey needs to, it's a problem at this point, as opposed to saying like, it could be a problem. No, it's a problem.
Well, there's 2 points I'll make, and it is a problem, and it needs to change. The first problem is Murray is just good enough in spurts to not look terrible. Like John said, he averaged 4.1 yards a carry or whatever. And man, Henry gave up another either sack or pressure. But you got to work around that. I'm
Gotta
sorry,
find a way.
you've got to you've just got to run the ball with him or whatever. I don't know, but he's got to get more carries. He's got to be the featured runner. You can bring Murray in on third downs or whatever, but if you're going to do anything to fix the running game, that's the only thing I can see that they could do is just make Henry the featured runner.
Yeah, and the other thing I think with Davis, we talked about this a little bit. I didn't catch this quote. Apparently today, because they were talking about Malarkey ruled Davis out for the Colts game, but he wasn't ready to rule him out because most people are then saying, well, he's come back after the bye, right? And they asked Malarkey about it today, and he said, I'm pretty sure that is what it is going to be for Cyprian, but I can't say that about Corey because we could use his help. So when he is healthy, we are going to get him in there. The extra week would be great, but if he is healthy, we are going to go with him. So I don't know what that says about Cyprian.
I was going to say that's not a good statement for Cyprian.
What it says about Corey Davis is I think they're seeing the exact same stuff we are, that they need a guy who can separate. And like you said, Jamal, who can just go out and catch a pass that doesn't have to be some trick scheme play where he slips out totally free, where he can go up on a guy like we saw in week 1 against the Raiders and he can just go up and make a catch. And
now that Corey Davis has he's missed 4 weeks now, right? And it's going to be 5.
Well, I guess he technically played like half of the Jags game, right? Or he played part of the Jags game.
Oh, did he? I didn't even remember
they
that.
pulled him out. Yeah.
How stupid did they look for playing him after it was injured again in Oakland? Like it's absurd at this point. Like as much time as he has missed, how did you have him out there running routes against Oakland?
Right.
I think it's what we're talking about, though. I mean, it's killing them that they don't have a threat out there. They need him so bad.
And
that's why you can't play games with it.
Yeah. It's interesting for Taiwan, too, because for me, I would have given him all of Decker's snaps, but there's clearly something there where they don't feel he's ready yet for whatever reason, because all his plays seem to be kind of those gimmicky, go out on a take this.
Remember all the talk about how the receivers have to be in the right spot and all that stuff. I mean, that's what it is.
Yep.
He was drafted in the 3rd round. I mean, for a reason.
Guys, I think we've made it longer than half an hour. Look at that. If
we haven't even talked about
time. I don't know when we started.
We haven't even talked about the world's worst timeout, non-challenge, whatever.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
That wasn't the worst.
There you go. I was waiting for that.
Did you see the thread about, they didn't address the backup quarterback spot?
The thread on TitansReport.com about it.
I guarantee you John Robinson wanted to, and Malarkey talked him out of it.
Interesting. You think Robinson wanted to get a different backup?
Well, no, I don't think that. I just think no matter what, people want to blame Malarkey.
Oh,
that's what you're going with.
He's the general manager. If they don't have a good enough backup quarterback, it's his job. Who cares what Malarkey wants?
Yeah.
Yes and no. I mean, they're collaborative. I think with the backup quarterback, you got to put more blame on Robinson, but yeah.
You bumped that old thread, Jamal. I was like, oh, crap. What'd I say when we signed Castle? And I basically said what I feel now. My post was, Meh.
Meh. Yeah.
When we announced we'd re-signed him.
Somebody
Yeah.
was defending the idea of re-signing him. I don't know who that was.
I didn't care who they signed. I said if they lose Mariota, it doesn't matter.
But at this point, anyone who's not absolutely abjectly terrible, we would have won. So it's a one-win difference. Could have been nice.
Anyone, but I don't hear the names. Brian Hoyer is a starter. He's a starter on another team. He's not signing with the Titans to be a backup.
I could give you a name. You wouldn't like it, but I mean, just about anybody.
Give me the name.
Colin Kaepernick.
Come on.
Case Keenum. There's a good one for you.
There are definitely guys like Case Keenum and I saw someone else name somebody else. I forget who it is. One of the
there's been a couple. I mean,
Maybe
DJ
trade
Manuel,
for
maybe a little bit better than Castle. He's quarterback
definitely.
for Raiders.
he did
Trade
win.
for
He,
Brissett,
he did
right?
win the last game of the year last year, though. He wasn't this bad.
Come on. Houston was playing their entire practice squad.
I think he said that to be funny.
I wasn't being funny. He was not
Well,
this
you weren't
bad.
trying to be funny.
He wasn't this bad in the finale last year. I don't care what anyone says. He was not this bad.
Well, PFF says he's been better. He was better than Mariota's been all year, guys. That's all I need.
Do you know the way they grade the quarterbacks?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. If you have to say that, then why are they even grading quarterbacks?
They grade the throws only. Yeah.
What's the point?
Well, the further down the field, the more accurate the pass, all that kind of stuff. And hey, Mariota has been inaccurate on a lot of passes. That hurts the PFF rating. Which I mean, who cares though? Really?
Reporters. At this point, Castle is going to be an All-Pro.
We do too. We're sitting here talking about it.
What else are we going to talk about? No. Yeah, so I mean this stretch here, obviously you want right now the focus of course is they got to win Monday night, and I don't know how we're going to do a podcast if they lose this and if they lose to Cleveland. I've been wanting Cleveland to win a game all year because I just hate that going into a game where they just have nothing, zero to lose, and it's just total desperation for a team where they don't care. They're terrible.
It doesn't matter. They are terrible.
We lost to Johnny Manziel. I mean,
that was a better team. They're gonna get fired. Hugh Jackson's gonna get fired.
Yeah, which is kind of unfortunate because it's basically their baseball approach.
Or was he there last year?
It's a second year.
Second year, okay, yeah.
Why is it unfortunate? Why did he bench Kaiser? What's he doing?
Yeah, I don't get that.
Are they trying?
Kaiser's been pretty bad. I mean,
but if you're gonna go with him, you got to roll with him. I think
you either roll with him or the other guy should have had a legitimate chance to start. He's worried now because it looks so bad. Now he's worried about his job, so he's jumping off the money ball train.
Yeah, let's win a game.
I got to get some wins, and now and they've got a lot of other problems too. They're not a good team at all.
Well, he has literally said, "I would cut Kenny Britt right now if we had anyone else who was healthy." And so instead they're starting him. Like, that's how bad their team has been managed. That's why I say it's unfortunate.
Yeah, why do you let what's his name go to the Redskins? What's his name?
Pryor.
Pryor. Yeah.
I mean, they have. I don't know what their long-term approach is going to turn out to be, but in the short term, they have completely handicapped that team.
Did you see the quarterbacks they could have drafted?
Yeah,
it's brutal. It's brutal.
Even as far as who's the guy that started against the Titans last year?
With the Browns?
Cody Kessler?
Yeah, Kessler.
They drafted him right before the Cowboys drafted Prescott.
Ooh.
They did that. They could have drafted Watson
Wentz.
this year. They could have drafted Wentz. I mean, how stupid are you? I don't care how many draft picks you got. You don't have a quarterback. You're losing. You're losing.
In all seriousness, if Malarkey came out and said, we would cut X player but we're so desperate we need him, wouldn't you be saying, look, cut him anyway?
Yeah.
Like you cannot roster a guy who you want gone, who is literally out on the field not trying. Like it's Randy Moss levels of not trying.
With like half the talent.
I do
Not
understand
even there.
I do understand what he means, though. I mean, they got to have. It's just like we're talking about with Corey Davis. You have to have an X receiver out there. I guess they could cut him and just get some dude off the street, but is that better?
How hilarious is it that there was a thread on TitansReport.com this offseason saying to bring Kenny Britt back?
Well,
and they were arguing, he's a 1,000-yard receiver
man.
last year. He's good.
You can bump that one. I'll be glad to see what I wrote in that one.
I already did bump it last week or the week before.
You can't let Kenny Britt.
No, but I mean, who's one of the dumbest posters consistently on the message board?
I knew what he wrote, and I knew that's why you were saying it.
Never go full socks, cat. That's the answer. I mean, come on. If there is any team who could not sign Kenny Britt, it was the Titans. Like, even if you had his talent assessed properly, he can't come here.
He was worse then than what he's doing now in Cleveland. Remember, every time they threw him the ball, it was either a penalty, a turnover, or he just didn't even try to catch it.
His last year, you mean?
Yes, the last stretch where he played.
Where they'd come out at the beginning of the game and be like, first play, we're throwing it to Kenny no matter what. We're going to get him warmed up. We're going to get him hot, and he'd drop it. It's like, never mind. They gave up.
The drops were some of the better plays. There was like all these freaky penalties and stuff that would happen, or he'd fumble the ball or something. Yeah, you couldn't have Kenny Britt back.
But then, I mean, the other thing, so that's their wide receiver group. And then they have, who is it, Duke Johnson Jr., he just catches passes, and Crowell was going to be their savior at running back. I mean,
they drafted 5 receivers last year. Where are those guys at?
Oh, man, that's right.
I don't know, but I can tell you where they're not. Not on the field making plays.
You know who else I heard was really bad, getting exposed really bad? Peppers at safety.
Oh, I forgot about that guy.
Yeah, I heard some of the breakdown shows talking about how he's being targeted and doesn't have the range and stuff. So
yeah,
but so yeah, that's why I say it's unfortunate, because I mean, Hugh basically, however good or bad they were when he got there, they're way worse in terms of talent now.
All right, so guys, does Marcus play this week?
Well, I said yes last week, so I guess I'll say yes again.
I think they have to play him, and I think it's kind of a concern. The worst scenario is he comes back out there and gets pulls another Corey Davis But I almost don't blame them for getting him out there. They really have no choice. I don't think they have a choice. And if he does play and he doesn't get hurt, I think they'll win. But if he doesn't play, it's just, I said last week, if he didn't play, they were going to have a hard time beating the Dolphins. And I think the Colts are better than the Dolphins.
We've picked the Titans every week, all three of us. Except
I think there was one week
you didn't pick him on the Seahawks week, maybe?
Yeah, so
that was it.
Even when I didn't pick them, I was wrong.
I hesitate to pick against the Colts just because there's some, whether you call it mojo or bad luck or whatever,
bad juju.
There's just something there that we cannot seem to get over.
They went into overtime with the winless, terrible 49ers, so it's not like they're a good.
Should absolutely beat them. There's no, with Mariota, even at like 75% health, we should beat them.
The Colts don't have a Ndamukong Suh, and the Dolphins actually have a pretty stout front. So I think the Titans have a chance to run the ball against the Colts too.
On my way home tonight, I turned on AM radio and they had some sort of best of Mike and Mike, and they were interviewing somebody about, or they were interviewing Gruden. And so like their 2-minute talk about the upcoming Monday Night Football game was, wow, Andrew Luck is out and the Colts have won 2 games. Isn't that surprising? And that was it. It was like Gruden said something like, Brissett, he's more athletic than I thought he'd be. I didn't think he'd be that athletic. That was the entirety of their preview. Man, we suck. We suck hard again, don't we?
Wow.
Who did they beat?
Who, the
This
Colts?
week, the 49ers, and then
Did they beat the Jets?
I don't think they beat the Jets. Hold on, I can pull it up pretty quickly. It was their schedule has been like ridiculously easy so far.
They got blown off the field against the Seahawks and somebody else too.
They lost opening day to the Rams 46-9.
Oh yeah.
Cardinals beat them. Oh, they beat the Browns by 3, 31-28.
Yeah.
They played nobody.
The Colts are definitely one of the worst teams in the league.
We just lost to one of the worst teams in the league.
We did.
Yeah, that's why I said it depends. If Mariota plays, I think they win. If he don't, it's 50-50.
Yep. Oh my gosh.
But
He
isn't that
has
like
to play.
Isn't that just set aside what you know? Isn't that significantly worse than you would have thought we were at the beginning of the season?
Well, you got to look at it in context, and if you know what we know now that we didn't know then,
is that we suck. Like no, but seriously, before the season started, Mariota is out, but we're playing the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah, I would have said we could have won. Yeah,
we could win, but now if Mariota's out, we're basically the worst team in the NFL. That sucks.
Without Mariota, yes, it's pretty bad.
Dire. Yep.
Because they can't run the ball and because their defense is bad, and their defense is still bad.
Yep, I think so.
Man. Go Titans.
Let's close it on that happy note. Woo!
Mac has potential to run all over us, although we've been pretty good on run defense so far this year, but he's the one that scares me more than Core.
He had a good game last week.
All right, guys. Hilton is still very good.
Oh, yeah.
They better not try covering him with Sims and McCain.
Apparently, Brissett's pretty good, or Brissett. I've heard it pronounced both ways. Apparently, he's a pretty good deep ball thrower. So,
you think Adoree Jackson should be on Hilton?
No. Although I actually don't know what size Hilton is.
I think so. I think he's your best bet because if you he's going to blow by anybody else. Man, Ryan can't stay with him. I was watching some of Kaharski's chat earlier, and somebody was asking him, you got to put Ryan on TY, right? And he's like, I don't know. He said, I might put Adoree on him just because of the speed.
Maybe double cover him. How about that?
Yeah.
Because none of them can cover him. Adoree Jackson's been roasted the last couple of weeks, worse than the other ones. Like I said last week, he's the most targeted defensive back on the Titans team for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, he shows promise and stuff, but he's also getting beat left and right.
All right, guys. I can't do it anymore. Let's wrap it up. Hopefully we'll have a better, more exciting show next week. But if they lose, don't expect a podcast.
Yeah. If they lose, you can find us. No, you can't find us.
You can't find us anywhere. We're gone from the internet.
Or if Mariota gets hurt and is out for like 6 weeks.
I really would stop podcasting. I'd say you guys are free to do it. I can't do it. I cannot do it. No, I know there's some loyal listeners out there who really appreciate the show every week, and we appreciate you guys listening as well. That's what keeps us going. Your posts and your comments and your listens, we can see the numbers. So we were talking about
guilt.
We were talking about that before. I mean, surprisingly, the numbers are still pretty strong. So some of you out there like to share in this sadness that we have as Titans fans. So thank you all so much for listening. This has been episode 144 of the Two Tone Crew. Like we said, you can find us online at titansreport.com. We're on Twitter at TitansReport. There's a Facebook group, facebook.com/TitansReport. And that's the main things. That's pretty much it. iTunes, Stitcher, all the podcast services. Check us out there. Rate, review. We'll appreciate it. You guys got anything else?
Nope.
All right. You guys have a good one, and we'll talk to you again very soon.